Hey, everybody. Tonight, we're talking about your home office. It may not have always been a home office, but it is now, right? And according to our president, for at least another month, at least as I'm saying this now, it will be. And who knows how much longer than that? And who knows how much longer you might be using it, even when things start to go back to normal. Hi, I'm Kevin Eikenberry, and tonight I'm answering the questions that you have. Give me 1 second here. I'm answering the questions that you have given me about, well, your home office and whatever it might look like. So I'm going to do that here. I'm on Zoom, and you may be joining me here. You may be on Facebook Live. I've got the lovely and talented Marlene working from her home office, who is monitoring Facebook. So if you leave me a question there, she'll get it to me over here in Zoom where I'm living, and I'll be ready to answer it. So I'm in my home office. I actually have two home offices, if you will, because our office, what we call Remarkable House, is in about a 60-plus-year-old home. So my office there used to be a bedroom, and my office here has been an office ever since we moved here and we bought this house. But not everyone has that situation. In fact, when I think about my own team, all of whom are remote, most of whom are always remote, and all of whom are remote now, I've got people who have dedicated spaces. I have people who use the dining room table. I have people that have all different situations, including a member of my team who is now working from her RV. She and her husband are somewhere in, I believe, in Palm Springs, California right now. She's working from her RV in a desk that her husband made for her in the RV. So the point is, we can get work done anywhere, and not every place you may be working may have been designed for this purpose. So I want to talk to you tonight, answer some questions about this very area. And the first question I got was, Kevin, how do we minimize the distractions in our home office? Well, that's a little bit hard to answer if I don't know what your home office space looks like. So I'll just give you some things to consider. First of all, what might distract you? Maybe the window would distract you, or maybe the window would not distract you. Maybe you need to close the blinds or not. We'll get to lighting a little later. Maybe you have a lot of stuff around, and I'm not talking about whether you have a tidy desk or not. Mine, not as tidy as it should be. But do you have other things in your space, in your visual array that distract you, that get you thinking about something else? So, the interesting thing is, when we went to an office, we wanted to make it feel a little bit like home. And now that we're home, we need to make it feel enough like an office so we can be productive. So just think about what things in your visual space might be distracting, and then perhaps you need to move them. Maybe you need to think about, do I want to face the wall? Do I want to face the window? And those sorts of things. And many people, including my wife, who when she was working in an open office environment always wore headphones, or most of the time wore headphones, to minimize the noise distractions. Oftentimes I think, well, we'll go home, it'll be great, we'll have no noise distractions, but you might still have them. And right now you might have them with your children, depending on your situation. So maybe you need to think about something to cancel noise or keep the noise distractions down. I won't even get into whether you have music or not have music. That depends entirely on you, on the nature of your work, how much time you'll be on virtual meetings, etc. etc. The second question that I got was, Kevin, how do I maximize my productivity in my home office? Well, the first thing I think you've got to think about is ergonomics. Make sure that you have a space where you can get your arms at about a 90-degree angle to the desk, to the laptop, or whatever you're using, to your keyboard, so that you have good ergonomics. Hopefully you can have a chair where you can be sitting up pretty well. That's important. Now, you may say, well, I don't have that kind of chair, Kevin, and I don't have the money for that kind of chair. And in a normal time, I'd have said, go to a thrift shop and you can probably find a pretty good office chair. Usually you could. Well, now you may not be able to get to a thrift shop, and they may have already been picked over. So that may not be an option, but you want to do everything you can. So here's one thing: if your angle is wrong with your let's say you can't get the chair high enough, it's not perfect, but put a pillow or something to lift you, or get something that to help you with your back and to get your ergonomics right. I am not an ergonomics expert, but I do know that we need to get to a place where we're comfortable. If you're finding that every day you have all this tension and stress, it's probably about the ergonomics. Make sure you're taking care of that. Okay, that's the first thing. The second thing is monitors. Well, again, I don't know what you came home with. I don't know if you had 2 monitors at work or whatever. Maybe those came home with you. If so, this is a non-issue. If they didn't come home with you, then you might want to think about that. There are often, although I haven't looked lately, this may be a bit of a challenge right now too. There often are used monitors that you can pick up online that would help you with this if you're wanting to move to 2. I remember my dad a long time ago saying after he got a car that had a 6-way power seat, he goes, this is no longer an option. Like I got to always have the 6-way power seat. And that's how a lot of people now feel about monitors. If you've gotten used to 2, it feels very strange if you don't have 2 anymore. So maybe you need to do something around that. That leads me to another point, and that is if you've recently made this shift, I don't know what your employer did or helped with in that shift for you. Maybe you were well taken care of. Maybe they were just trying to keep the doors open and got you home. So you might want to ask your employer, or maybe there's an allowance that you can get to, a work from home allowance. You want to at least know if that's an option. So while I'm talking about, how to save money here or there, you may have the ability to request that. That's something I think worth thinking about. Depending on where your state is in terms of shelter in place and all those other things, there might even be a way for you to go get a chair from the office if that would help. So I'd encourage you to think about that. Ask your employer, think about, get creative about this, but you've got to do something so you can be comfortable and productive while you're working. I think you want to think about lighting too. Now I'm in my home office and right now the lighting would be awesome for me to work. It is not really awesome for this video because I got all this light on the side of my head and all that stuff. As it turns out, I can't close the blinds here. Long story. So I don't have an option right now to make that better. Again, if I were just working here, it would be perfect. And so think about the lighting that you need. And if you need to spend a little money on lighting, I would really encourage you to do that. If you're in a lot of virtual meetings, make sure you've set yourself, if at all possible, so that there's not all the light behind you. Like if I turned, I'm not going to do it, but if I had turned this right now so all the light was behind me, my face would get really dark. So make sure that when you're on a virtual meeting or on a webcam with a teammate, that the light doesn't keep, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be in a studio, but you do want your face to be able to be seen. So number 1, lighting for you to be productive yourself. And number 2, lighting for you to be productive with your teammates so they can see you. That's why we're using the webcam to start with. Now, again, I don't know where your not an office is, right? You may be on a table, a dining room table. I have a friend who sent me the picture of where he's working. He's at a card table. Well, he said it's working and the height's right and I'm going for it. Like, okay. So maybe you are doing that. If you're working in a bedroom, maybe you're in an apartment and your only spot is in your bedroom. Here's what I want you to do, given all the other things. I for sure want you to do this. When you're done working for the day, turn it off, close the laptop. If this is also in the place where you sleep, which is not optimum, but might be what you have to do, then by all means, do everything you can to make sure that there's a barrier from you going right back to work, because otherwise you walk in the bedroom and the next thing you know, you're back on your laptop. Don't do it. Do something that means that you would have to intentionally get back into that flow. Do everything you can to manage that. Okay. And if you're working from your couch, please don't. I don't think it's in your best interest from a health perspective, from a posture perspective, and probably not from a productivity perspective. Now, if you want to be on the couch for a little bit, change of pace or something, I don't think there's a problem with that. If you can be effective in typing on your laptop or whatever there, but I would not make that your long-term location, even though it might feel pretty comfy for a bit. I think we need to make sure that we're trying to create a space where we're working, which is different from where we're not working. And if we're not used, if we're used to being on the couch watching the television, I'm saying you're not in it's not in the best best thing for you to be on the couch working, if at all possible. Now, I know that all of these things I'm saying may not be possible, but hopefully what this did was give you a few ideas that will help you manage the space that you've got that wasn't meant for work and make it better for work. And even if you're lucky enough to have a dedicated space, then be thinking about how you can close doors and keep everyone else clear about when you're working and when you're not. All right, hopefully all of this was useful. I don't see that there have been any questions that have come in, so I'm going to go on. Here's what I'm going to say, though. If you're watching this later and you have a question, put the question right here in Facebook, and we'll find it and we'll answer it on a future Facebook Live. Or if you're finding it someplace else, like on our remote work resource center site, which I'll tell you about in a second, if you find this video someplace else, send us an email, info@kevineikenberry.com. I'm betting Marlene's going to put that in the Facebook right now. info@kevineikenberry.com. And you can say, got a question for Kevin, and we'll make sure we answer it or point you to where we already have answered it. That last thing is what I just said is about that special remote work site that we've created to deal with all of the change and all of the stress related to these transitions where so many people have gone home to work in an instant. You can go to kevineikenberry.com/COVID-19 and you can get a ton of resources. We're adding to it every day. Hopefully you will find it valuable for you. And if you find it valuable for you, share it with others. That's right there in the Facebook Live, kevineikenberry.com/COVID-19. So with that, thank you all for being here. I hope it was helpful. And most of all, I hope that you will be back when we do this again, Monday through Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Come on back and join me if you would. And until then, be safe, be well, be remarkable. Thanks, everybody.